hey everyone. Of course we come into this check line because we always have a good time when we get together. So it's K&K here on the Coffee Crawl. But he's great, yeah. Okay. But we have been thinking, we started this a week ago. This is our second episode, and we haven't told anybody who we are, what we're about. You know, we still don't know what we're about. I don't think. You think we know what we're about yet?
We're still finding our way.
Right. We know and we have a little sneak peek. We know we're about coffee. And here's where you can tell where we're at today. But we're just going to tell you a little bit about ourselves, so you can decide whether you think it's worth following us around, because we're going to have occasional episodes, and we want you to be interested in us. Mm-hmm. And maybe we're not interested. And if we're not interesting, then hey, move on to something else. Swipe left. You know, so no, please stay. Wait, please stay. So I'm Kevin Kelly. So I got double K's. See, he only has one K, the first name, but I got two KKKs. So and I have a background. I was raised in Oregon. Came through that way until I was married. After I was married a couple of years, we moved away to Louisiana. Lived there a number of years. Went to college there, Louisiana Tech University. Go Bulldogs. And then found a job and moved up to Arkansas. And we lived there for nearly 30 years. We took a little jaunt down to Texas for a while. That's where I met this guy in about 2003 to 2005. We got down there, and that's where I met this guy. He can tell you how we met. Maybe he remembers. I don't know if he remembers.
Try to forget.
And then after that, we've been in Arkansas for 30 years, and then our kids all moved away, and they didn't necessarily want to come back to Arkansas. We were there just by ourselves, my wife and I. So we kind of followed one set, moved up to Ohio. Our daughter moved up there for a few years, and then snowbirded to Florida for, I don't know, 2 years, I guess another couple of years. And then we decided, why are we snowbirding? Let's plant ourselves in one place. And so we decided that we were weighing the options. Ohio, I was blowing snow. Florida, it's nice and warm all the time. There's no snow here, so we opted for Florida. And we've been here over 3.5 years full time, but 5.5 years as we count our snowbird time. So that's what got us here. We've got 3 kids. I probably won't name them because they'll disavow me because they don't want to name on this public podcast that's going to be seen by millions. So, well, we have 3 children. So, and we just celebrated. We just talked about it. Just celebrated 45 years of marriage. So, my wife and I have been married 45 years as of this past Sunday. So, we're proud of that. So that's kind of my story, and we can talk a little bit about more why we do this kind of thing, why we might be of interest. But I want Kieran to tell his life story.
Yeah, well,
you've been everywhere. You've been a lot of more than me.
Well, maybe. I grew up in Texas, in Houston, and when I graduated from high school, South Air, the Bobcats. Well, you said yours.
Yeah, that's the high school. I talked about the college.
No, but we were a great high school.
Oh, you were
anyway. But and then I went to Texas A&M for a semester, and then because I had just become a Christian at that stage, I almost lost my faith there. I was in the Corps, and the Corps was pretty rough back in those days, and it was during the Vietnam era, and so I decided I needed to leave there in order to save my faith. You know, now there were people who were Christians there who were able to maintain theirs, but I was not one of them. But anyway, I took a year off from school. Then later on, my friend and I, Robert, he and I decided we'd go to Florida, go to school here at a school called Florida College, and so we both went there, and there I met my future wife, and from there we got married, and then we moved to Maine, living in Maine for a few years, for about 5 years. That was my first experience with real cold. You know, we had that year we had 40 below zero for about a week.
Oh wow.
And it was pretty interesting to go out in the yard and breathe and see your breath fall to the ground and crunch and make a small noise. You know, that was very interesting. And that year we had over 100 inches of snow. It was a pretty great year. And being from Texas, I'd never seen such marble.
Yeah.
And I loved it.
No kids
And,
then?
no kids. Well, at least not at that early stage. And then, but while we were in Maine, we did have 2 children. And then, but then from Maine, we moved to Dublin, Ireland, and we stayed there about 15 years. Worked outside of Dublin, or worked in Dublin, but I lived outside the city in a place called Swords, County Dublin. And then after about 15 years, we moved back to the States. And and we moved to New England, to Massachusetts, Tingsboro, and that's where this is where I got my taste for Dunkin' Donuts, and also because when I was away in Ireland, the Houston lost their Oilers, they lost their team, so I had no team, so I adopted the Patriots. I know,
Right.
people are mad at me and shake their heads, but those are the good years.
Right.
And then when the Texans got their team, I started being a Texan fan again. Yeah,
You were a Texan?
I came back. Yeah.
You're Texans, okay.
And anyway, and then from Massachusetts we moved to Minnesota, to my wife's home. She raised in Duluth, Minnesota, on the tip of Lake Superior, another very, very cold place. And we were there for a few years, and then moved back to New England, to Vermont. And from Vermont, we moved to Philadelphia, and from Philadelphia, we moved here. And during this latter time, the last 3 moves, my wife became ill, so some of the moves would be closer to family. But anyway, that's my life story in short. 3 of my children were born in Ireland, 2 were born in this country, and so I have 2 boys and I have 3 girls. And one of my daughters is a good friend of his daughter, and that's really how we became friends. Though we did meet in Texas when I was visiting a church there, and we met him. I don't remember him.
Not memorable, of course.
Sorry, but he said we met. And but we had a mutual friend there named James. I went to school with at A&M. So anyway, it's been a pleasant.
Right.
It's been pleasant.
Right.
Anyway, that's it.
Well, you mentioned your faith, talking about yours at A&M. So of course that's one thing about us. We're both Christians, and we see ourselves as New Testament Christians. And we'll talk about that from time to time through these podcasts, and that probably come up because that's a huge part of our life, and so that's kind of about us.
Yeah.
I think we tell our story. We want to kind of give you all a sense of who we are, and again, just like I started, we don't know why we're here, but we do know what we're here for.
I've been a coffee drinker a long time.
Okay.
Okay, I just want to say that so I have some experience.
You have experience. You have more experience than me.
I don't know.
When did you get your first coffee?
Well, I wasn't allowed to drink coffee until I was 18.
Your mama knew better than to allow you to have coffee.
That's right.
That set you off.
That's right. I was already on the wall. Anyway.
I think I started. My grandparents started me when I was probably about 7 years old. But you know how it is for a 7-year-old when a grandparent gives a 7-year-old coffee. There's lots of milk.
Yeah.
I think with them they're Minnesotans too, so they were all about lots of cream, and then a lot of sugar, and then a dribble of coffee in the top to get a little bit of caramel color, and that's about it.
Well, and also, my wife was never a coffee drinker. She was a tea drinker. So if you want to know some things about tea, I have.
You have an experience, okay? And you didn't mention, I'll say it for you, that Karen is a widower. So not a widow, you're a widower.
Thank you.
So, but we'll talk a little bit more about that in future episodes too. So that's only a short-term thing. Teas, that was teas. So we call it teas in the biz. So, all right, we'll wrap this for now, and we'll be back and talk to you a little later. All right, thanks.